Hey guys, today we are making a southern style hot fried chicken with some corn on the cob and some beautiful mashed potatoes and some fried okra to go along with that. So we're making kind of a big meal today. We're also going to do some corn on the cob. So I bought some fresh corn at our farmer's market that we have here. And I'm going to show you, I don't know if any of you have ever husked corn before, but when I was a child, we lived on a farm and my great-grandfather grew lots of acres of corn. And I used to have to help pick the corn and take the husk off the corn. All we're going to do is pull all this off, pull what I call the hair off, which is the silks of the corn, and get down to our little corn cobs. This is a nice yellow corn. So I have some water boiling on the stove and I'm gonna put those in just a minute. Okay, now we've got the corn done. I'm gonna get that in the pot in just a minute, but we're gonna talk about okra. So okra grows a lot here in the South. And we use it in a lot of different things as a thickener. We use it to thicken up gumbos. And we love to cut this and fry it. So what I'm gonna do, I've rinsed all of these off, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut them up. Okra has something in the center of it that's kind of sticky. That's what we use as the thickener when we're making gumbo. So you'll see that when you're cutting it, it's fine. Just makes it a little sticky on the cutting board. These also came from the farmer's market, so check out your local farmer's markets, guys. They have lots of good things, and you always are going to have the freshest because it's what's in season if you buy from the farmer's market. We've got to marinate our chicken, and I have a little secret ingredient for that. But the first thing that I like to do with my chicken is to kind of pound it out a little smaller, because although I'm just using 2 breasts, I'm once again trying to get dinner ready on a weeknight, and you want it to be kind of fast. So I want it to cook quickly. So I want to make them a little thinner than they are. So what I do with that, I have some plastic wrap that I've put on my board here, because remember, we don't ever do meat on the wooden cutting board. I'm also going to go ahead and put some plastic underneath there, just a little extra insurance. And what we want to do, you could do this in a Ziploc bag as well. We just want to put plastic wrap over the top of this chicken, seal up the edges just a little bit, and I want to pound this chicken just a little and get it a little bit flatter. But what I'm going to do is just lightly pound it, because it's already kind of thin, but we're going to pound just a little bit.
Make sure when you're pounding, the chicken does not escape the plastic wrap.
Now we have the 2 chicken breasts that have been pounded, not flat, but flatter. We wanted them to be a little bit flatter so that they will cook evenly and they'll cook faster. But we're gonna marinate them. We're gonna do a quick marinade. And my secret to a quick marinade is pickle juice. It doesn't have to be this brand. It doesn't matter what brand it is. Pickle juice is what I love to use for a marinade. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a little bit of pickle juice on here, just enough to kind of cover it. We're gonna let them sit and soak for about 10 minutes. While that's soaking, we're going to get our potatoes ready to go in the pot. So I peeled the potatoes, and I want to cut them into kind of big cubes. Now we're making mashed potatoes today. The easiest way to cut these, we want to hold our bear claw to hold the potato down, and we want to cut them into what I call planks. And then we want to take those planks and we want to cut those into strips. And then we want to turn it sideways and cut those into cubes. We kind of want them to be the same size, and I'm going directly in the pot with that. Okay, the potatoes are going into a pot of cold water, and I'm going to turn it on high. And we are not going to salt the water until the potatoes come to a boil. Next, we're going to get our station set up for our batter for our chicken. So I have some flour here. I'm going to have a bowl with an egg, and then I'm going to have another container of plain flour. This is a 3-stage method for battering our chicken. And what we want to use is, in this bowl with the egg, is just 1 egg. And we're going to do some buttermilk. You can use regular milk, but buttermilk is going to give it a totally different flavor. You can see it's a lot thicker. And that buttermilk is delicious when it comes to frying chicken. With a fork, I'm just going to whisk this together. I'll leave that in there in case I need it. Now, over here is our smaller amount of flour, and here is our larger amount of flour, and this is what we're going to season. So to that, we want to add some salt. And some fresh ground pepper. And some secret seasoning. Or you can use granulated onion and garlic as a substitute. This is full of all the herbs and spices, but it also has fresh garlic and fresh onion that we dry and then we grind it up. So granulated would be a good substitute for it, but it's still not going to have the flavor that our secret seasoning has. All right, we just want to blend this around. So we've got a flavored flour, and we've got our plain flour, and this is called our dredging station for our chicken, and it's a 3-step process. Now I have also here a little bit of fish fry. I'm going to use this when we get to batter the okra. It's been about 10 minutes for our chicken. It's been soaking. Still kind of looks the same. But what we're going to do, we're going to take it directly out of here, and we're going to put it right into our plain flour first. So this is our plain flour, and all that's going to do is get a little of that moisture off from our marinade. We want some of our moisture in there, but we don't want it to be too much of it, because then when we try to put the batter on, the batter is going to fall off, and we don't want the batter to fall off. Once it goes from the dry station of plain flour, then, ironically enough, we're going into the wet station. That's the buttermilk and the egg. And all we want to do is coat that on both sides, the buttermilk and the egg, and you can see it's thick because of that buttermilk. That's a good thing. That's going to help us. And then we're going straight into our seasoned flour. This is our coating that's going to be on our fried chicken. Now, there's a lot of controversy about the next step that I'm about to tell you. A lot of people like to go straight from this dredging station straight into the oil. I want to let it sit for a minute. I don't want to go straight into the oil, not quite yet. So what I'm going to do is take it out and let it hang out on a plate for a minute. Let all that batter just sit on there and hang out for a minute, and then we'll go in with it. So I'm going to do the next one. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more buttermilk to our bowl if we're going to do the okra next. So a little bit more buttermilk. All right, now remember I told you for the okra we want to add a little bit of fish fry. It has a different texture, has a little cornmeal in there, has a different flavor. We still have the seasoned flour, but we wanted to add just a little bit of that fish fry too. All right, so we're going to take the okra and we're going to dump it all into the dry flour, because I'm going to use the same bowl to put it in after. This one you got to get in with your hands. This is when it gets messy. But if we're doing the okra, I can get in there. I want to shake all the excess flour off of it. Oh, that guy jumped in already. Going straight into the buttermilk. Okay, we have our okra done in our buttermilk, and now we're going to put it into our flavored flour that we seasoned with all of our seasonings, but then we also, remember, added that fish fry. I'm going to do the rest with the rest of this okra. Do the same thing. I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to put it into the seasoned flour, and then we're heading over to the range to cook everything off. I have my potatoes in this pot boiling away. I have my corn in that pot and it's boiling also. I'm going to go ahead and salt the potatoes because we had to wait till it came to a boil to salt them. We're going to turn those into mashed potatoes. I'm also going to go ahead and salt the corn, and I'm going to move that around just a little bit. Make sure it's down in that water so the salt doesn't end up on just one piece. All right, and I have my oil on. It's been heating up. It's ready to go. You want to make sure your oil is on before you start this because it needs to get to 350. All right, we're going to go in first with our chicken. And the oil's nice and hot, so it should cook pretty fast. Be really careful when you put the chicken in. Going to cook for just a few minutes on each side. Our potatoes, you want to check with a fork. So you want to use the fork and kind of see if you can mash the potato. Well, not out of the pot. You want to see if you can mash the potatoes up against the sides, or if you can pierce them with the fork. Either way will let you know that they're soft enough for us to mash. And both ways are working. So our potatoes are just about ready to be strained. I'm going to go ahead and flip our chicken over. Go ahead and add some of our okra to the pan. We don't want to add too much and cool our grease down, but if you get it nice and hot, about 350, you should be able to put at least the 2 pieces and a little bit of okra in there. All right, the potatoes were done, so I went ahead and strained them, and you can see that I put them right back in the same pot that we cooked them in. That's going to help us to get the butter melted and mix them together, and it saves on dishes during the weeknight. So what we want to do is mash them in the same pot. I'm going to use about 4 tablespoons, about half a stick of butter. And we're going to add about half a cup of half and half to the potatoes. That'll help us mash them. And you don't have to add cheese to it. You want just plain potatoes. But I've never met a potato I didn't want to put cheese on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish off the chicken and finish off the rest of the okra, and then I'll be back to show you the finished product. You want to make sure you salt it right when it comes out, when it's nice and hot, so the salt melts down into that. I also have our corn on the cob done, which we're going to just put some butter on when we serve it. And the mashed potatoes are done. I did add some cheese to the mashed potatoes, and I added about a cup of sour cream. That's the secret ingredient for the mashed potatoes. It makes them nice and creamy. Now the chicken, we're going to cut that into some strips, and those strips we're going to toss in our hot sauce, and we need to do it while the chicken is hot. This is my favorite one. I like to toss it with that. This is the buffalo one, and it gives it a nice hot spicy flavor. So that's what makes our southern hot fried chicken. I hope you enjoy. Please click like and subscribe so you'll see future videos, and I'll see you next time.